Hi, everyone. It's Veronica Stout here, and happy Thursday. I am so glad and excited for you to join me and to be part of our Style Chat series today. As you know, we have been frequently talking about all of the beautiful things that we love that are related to brooches. You know, we so often say, bring back the brooch. Brooches are the best. We know that brooches are actually our most popular item here at Vintage Meet Modern. We work far and wide to bring you the best selection, but we also always want to be inspiring you on how to wear them. So I'm very lucky and I'm very excited because on Thursdays when we do these style chats, we get to have a bit of a guest expert come and join us. And like I said, today we're talking with you not just about your awesome vintage brooch collection and inspiring you how to wear them in a different way. We are also introducing you to another fabulous complimentary product that is not only going to help you enjoy your collection, but it is also going to inspire you again to wear those brooches in a different way. So I am very excited today. I have got the lovely and beautiful Karey joining me from an awesome company called Maps and Mary. And I do really want you to stay tuned and find out the details, because not only are you going to learn about these awesome and amazing brooches and these awesome and amazing velvet clutches, but you're also going to have an opportunity to win a $150 gift card from Vintage Meet Modern and a clutch from Maps and Mary. But you'll have to stay tuned to find out the details on how you can enter that. So I am going to go ahead and without further ado, I am going to welcome Karey. Everybody who's joining us, give her a big round of applause. I see that we have got some lovely and beautiful women who are joining us from all over the world. We've got Rhonda, we've got Sabrina. Karey, welcome
so happy to be here
and our style show. I am so excited to have you here. Please go ahead, tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
Well, that could be a long story, so I'll give you a short version. I started out in fashion in college. I went to Fashion Institute and eventually ended up being a photographer. I was a fashion photographer. I always stayed in the fashion industry, but it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I decided to start my own line. And two things really got me to do this. Number one, I had been to a lot of weddings. My friends' kids were all getting married. And every time I had to take an evening purse, nothing fit in it. And it just drove me nuts because they weren't even cute and nothing would fit in it. So I thought there's got to be a better way to that. And that kind of stuck in my mind. And then I've been collecting brooches since I was a kid. I see lots of people say their grandmothers were inspiration, and that's exactly true for me. Maps and Mary are my two grandmothers. And so, and I learned so much from both of them. So that's kind of was my inspiration. So I decided to combine the two. So it took me a year to be able to manufacture a velvet clutch in the United States that fit the right size. It was a really difficult undertaking because nothing really like that is manufactured here anymore. And I went through 6 different places and a lot of mistakes and a lot of money, but I finally figured that out. And originally I wanted to have new pins made in an old-fashioned style, and that was even harder. And so then I thought, okay, wait a minute. You love these brooches, you love old jewelry, why not include them? And so it's a little bit of a challenge to sell things that are one of a kind on a bag. But now, you know, we offer concierge service so people can say, I want a blue bag, show me everything that goes with blue. And that seems to be working pretty well, along with doing pop-up shops once we're all back to the normal world. So those two things kind of were my reason for putting this together. And I love them and they make me happy. So that's really what got me going.
Well, you know, from both a stylist perspective and a curator's collection, and also being like you, my grandmother inspired my own vintage jewelry collection, then it turned into a business later in life. Something that we're very committed here to at Vintage Meet Modern is not just supporting small businesses, but also being part of the sustainable fashion movement. Right. So I had found you when I was looking to work with other people or discuss and inspire with women different ways that they could appreciate and enjoy their collection beyond just getting to wear them in the typical manner. So right. I was very excited. Speaking of that, Your clutches are absolutely amazing. It's so true. I had showed this off a little bit last night when I did my own Facebook Live. I have the giant iPhone. I mean,
yes.
I mean, besides the fact that I need a phone that's as big as an iPad, I also have 3 children. And so having a clutch that can actually be able to, go inside of my purse,
and your keys, and your
my phone and my keys.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to mention that part of the reason why I fell in love with your bags is because something that when I talk about and I teach my styling clients is pick a clutch that can actually go in your tote-sized handbag, so that when you're going from the office to cocktails, or when you're going to be traveling, and you only have one bag big enough to carry everything, this actually is something that can go into something else. And then when you want to get rid of the big bag, you've got a small bag. And that's exactly what it is. I love vintage bags too, but this one is so functional because it will it will be with your gigantic phone, but then it will also be able to really make your collection special by being able to add your vintage brooches to it.
And there's many ways to add them. We experiment with them all the time in different places and different things, and it's kind of surprising how much you really can do.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about how Max and Mary is inspired by your grandmothers, which again, I think that we get the best lessons from the strongest women we know. I say that I've got 2 daughters, so I always remind them, I'm like, someday you're going to look back and you're going to be inspired by all the crazy things that I did. But tell me now, why does personal style mean so much to you? What do you want other women to know about that?
Well, my perspective is probably a lot different than yours in the fact that I am way older than you. And I am at an age where I feel like I don't want to be part of a crowd. I want to be an individual. I want to show what I love. I want to be different and unique and have something conversation worthy. And I mean, I've cared about fashion since I was a kid. That's why I went to Fashion Institute. But honestly, at this stage of my life, I just want to show off what I'm proud of. And I really am more proud to wear something that's unique and maybe has history than I am. Like, I hate fast fashion, and that just doesn't appeal to me. So I feel like not only is it sustainable and recyclable, but it has some meaning and it's unique. So they're treasures for sure.
I love that you mentioned that. Actually, we talked with the girls from A Fashionating Life a couple weeks ago, and they were saying the same thing. And I think the important thing for us is to believe that, style comes as an important part of who you are as a person at any age. I just think that as we go through and we have this more of a time where we take the things that we love from the past and what we see is like current and relevant in the present, but at the same time, we want things to fit well. We don't want it to be part of fast fashion,
right.
All of those amazing things. So that is awesome. So I do want to ask you, how has it been working with us here at Vintage Meet Modern?
Well, I was amazed when I found you because I didn't realize that somebody was out in the world with getting so much exposure, showing how to coordinate vintage fashion or vintage jewelry with modern fashion, which is something that I love. That's a passion of mine. So to see that you'd been out there doing that for a while was really exciting to me. And then before long, we kind of got together and, it just seems like a natural fit because I think what you're doing is incredible for women that want to have individual style and want to, be different and, stand out without screaming, I'm wearing this or that, just so that it's interesting. And they're also wearing something that's recycled and that might have history to them. Maybe it belonged to somebody in their family. So I think it's an awesome concept and I agree with that 100%, so it really dovetails what I do. You do such extensive jewelry with so many styles and types and, all kinds of things. I just focus really on the brooches and different ways to wear them, which I don't even like to call it a brooch because some people cringe at that word. It's a pin, whatever, but they're beautiful. So, I stick to just that area. And honestly, the purses are what I made to sell them because I want people to have these brooches. So, that's really my thing. It's like, I just want people to enjoy how beautiful they are.
Well, that's why we fell in love with you. That's why I was like, this is a dream getting to talk to somebody else about this, because not just the styling inspiration, but the same thing. When we have the product, it's a solution. It's a solution for people to be able to enjoy their collection even more. It's a solution for them to start a collection that they're going to enjoy even more.
It's so much fun to collect them.
Right. And I think the same thing goes along as long as, I know I was going to ask you too a little bit about like your relationship with vintage. I mean, that's the other thing though that I think that does make, when you're a real enthusiast that loves wearing vintage though with your modern life, one thing that you do, the more you incorporate things like the vintage brooches, pins and things like that, you realize like, I can't just go to a mainstream store and find a brooch. And I'd really love to be able to use a clutch, but for example, all the things that you've designed these clutches around, they're sturdy, they're American made, they're luxurious fabrics, they hold a cell phone, a compact, keys. So tell me a little bit about how your passion for vintage kind of started. Like, what's your relationship to it? I know that you've got a special connection with your grandmothers, but tell me about how you've incorporated it throughout your life, even before Maps and Mary.
Well, as young as 10, I believe, I loved shopping in vintage stores and flea markets. I grew up in Southern California, and I went to a Catholic school, and we had to wear really ugly uniforms. So the only thing we were allowed to wear that was unique was a cardigan sweater of any color. And so every weekend, my friends and I would go to vintage stores looking for old, inexpensive vintage sweaters that probably smelled terrible, but it's like the more you had, it's the more unique you could be when you had to wear a uniform. Well, that just got me started. So then years and years after that, I just lived for the Rose Bowl flea market and the Ventura flea market. And, jewelry is a passion, but I have plenty of other things too, other collections of milk glass and things that I love. But it was from a very young age that I love the hunt of it. I love the collection of it as much as I love the pieces. So it's just always been a big part of my life. I value family history so much in my own family. I've collected dishes, you name it. But this is something that I'm just so attracted to, the sparkle. And I've always just loved the rhinestone sparkle. It's just beautiful to me. So I've had these forever, honestly, most of my life. I had a much smaller collection than I do now, but I've carried them around with me to different states. I live in Texas now. They've just always been with me. So that's just part of who I am. People always know me for that. And honestly, I started putting pins on bags a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago, not bags I made, but I remember a woven Coach bag that I put a pin on, or, not leather, but I put them on suede. I put them on jean jackets. I put them on forever because I wanted to do something different with them other than the expected. I put them on shoes. I put them on things that people don't expect, and bags the most for the longest time. And so that's one of the things I thought, well, why don't I just make one that fits what I wanted to do? So it started a long time ago, but it's always been there.
That's amazing that idea and even that concept and even that personal style that you've carried with you for such a long time. Yeah. I mean, to me alone, that's such an inspiration. I really applaud you as not just your own personal stylist, as an entrepreneur who set out to do this. Boy, this has got to be something that you have obviously been very passionate about for most of your life, that it's almost like a part of you. Like it was something that you just like, this is a style that I love and it solves a problem that I have, and I get to be able to wear a brooch in a different way than that's the common way. And that's something that I always love to talk about, even besides the jewelry, is reminding people that you can make these pieces that are vintage, very current, very wearable, and that, it can really work with your modern life. Like, I always remind people, that's another thing. Do not wait for the special occasion. Do not leave it sit in the drawer. There are ways to be able to incorporate these things everywhere you go. You don't have to wait to be dressed up to the nines. So I really think that that's an incredible story, and I'm so excited and glad that you shared.
So like today, I'm wearing a pin that I love on a little velvet ribbon, and I was always inspired by Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City.
Yeah.
I used to wear silk flowers with velvet ribbons hanging down, which I loved. But so ever since then, almost every day I wear a bracelet of a different color velvet with a different pin, and it's just different, than what everybody else is wearing. So I've always just wanted to make things different.
Oh, so for all of you who are out there who are listening to that, I did say that these are creative ways to wear brooches, including on your clutch and more. Karey just gave us another one, especially for all of those lovely ladies out there who always see those smaller scatter pins. That's a genius idea, because a lot of people always feel like you have to wear a whole bunch of them to either really get like a full look, or they only use like the smaller ones, like as maybe like on the point of their collar if they wear a collared shirt. But that's a really fun one. And I love that you referenced Sex and the City too, because that is such a fun show to watch. Fashion inspiration.
Vintage in there. The style of Patricia Fields was amazing, and she had a genius talent for bringing bits and pieces of vintage with modern. And I mean, I've watched all those shows a dozen times, so I just got a lot of fashion inspiration from that. So I've worn these too with really big pins, and then really long velvet strings. You can change them up. You could put fresh flowers, like one little rosebud in a pin. I mean, there's so many things you can do with them if you just open your mind and think, what would look pretty with what I'm wearing, or what would make me happy today.
I love that. I love that. We're going to use that as a quote when we put all this up together. What would make me happy today? I love that. So I do want to say we have a lot of people who are listening and following to us and everything who are longtime followers, but also this is an opportunity for us to talk to some of the new people who are joining us. I mean, they're getting to know your product. They're getting to be excited over, vintage brooches and different kinds of collections and everything. But I always really like to ask this question to people who work with vintage, because they already have an appreciation for it. But if there was a myth that you could bust, or a stigma that you could release related to either secondhand finds or vintage finds, what would you want to tell people?
Well, what I hear the most is that that's something old my grandmother wore, and it's not relevant. But if you really take the time to look at pieces for their beauty, if you get them cleaned up, if you open your mind, and I feel like this generation right now of young adults or adults, girls 30 and 40, I feel like they do have a better appreciation for the past. I think that's coming more and more. I see so much nostalgia for 50s, 60s, 70s, and the jewelry hasn't caught up to that as much as the fashion has, but I think they have an open appreciation for it, and they just need to be introduced to this and realize what treasures it is. And the fact that sustainability and recyclability is so important now. So when you're buying a piece of history, you are recycling something really amazing. And the other thing is that so many people can find amazing finds from their mom or their grandmother, and then it has history on top of everything else. So I really believe it's just a matter of introducing this to more of the world and having them appreciate it, because I think the fact that it's not made anymore to the same standards, the same quality, same loveliness, it's an amazing piece of history that you can own for a really relative inexpensive price. So it's just a matter of showing people how incredible this is.
Yeah, I love and piggybacking off of that, because we hear the same thing so often too. It's the antique store stuff, it's my grandma's, it's mothballs, whatever the stigma is related. And I always really like to remind people, not just talking about the fashion history and the memories that go with it. One of the reasons why I love being able to work with people with accessories in general is that the accessories always fit. Like the clutch that you have, or that you get from Max and Mary, is something that if you take care of it, you can literally have it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. What you even buy current today will become your vintage later, because accessories can really transcend generations with minimal care and upkeep. And you just mentioned the importance of being able to talk to that more about people, and we see it with the clothing more and things. But, I really wish that people would even talk more about taking care of the accessories and even investing in better accessories, from the brooches and the clips and the handbags and everything in general, because you can't pass them down to your daughter or your aunt or a special godchild or things like that, or they retain their value. You can even pass them on when it no longer serves you to someone else who would appreciate it. So I love that. I think that it's so important, and I'm so glad that you touched on that as well.
Well, and honestly, one of my other collections is old vintage handbags. So,
oh my gosh,
I have.
Why am I not surprised? But
I have at least 50, and I used to use them all the time. But they're some are a little stained or a little out of shape, and so it was sort of a combination of several that I had that came up with the design for this. And those to me are still so sustainable that's what helped me do this. I didn't want to design something modern. I wanted to design something that was vintage inspired, but worked in a modern world. So yeah, what you're saying is exactly true.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question about your personal style, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about these very special bags, because the longer this conversation gets on, the more I want people who here are tuning in to really, truly understand the specialness that goes along with the vintage brooches, pins, and jewelries, but not also that just your product is incredible and you've spent years perfecting it so that we can really do enjoy it. So you touched a little bit about on your velvet bracelet. You've already referenced maybe some other things that you might collect. So I'd really love to know, as a style maven, what are some of the things that are part of your signature look? Tell us more about you.
So at this stage, I've been a lot of me's, but the stage I'm at now is I'm much more into solid, very cozy, lovely fabric, more subtle clothing, and especially like a cashmere sweater or really tailored beautiful pants or shorts or whatever. I don't go for as many prints anymore because I want to carry this as my, thing that people stand. So if I've got a navy sweater on right now and I've got this purse with me, then that gets the attention. And I even decorate my house that way. I didn't used to, but now everything is a lot of neutrals, and what pops is my art, my pillows, my accessories. And I feel that same way about dressing. I am more comfortable. Things have to be very comfy to me, not restricting, not super tight, but luxurious and simple and soft and solids, some prints, but mostly solids, so that my accessories can really tell the story. And that's exactly what I try to live for every day.
I love that answer. And I love asking that question. I think not only does it help us get to know you better, and also just is so special about realizing that every woman's personal style is so unique to them.
Yeah.
I love asking that question because there are women that are going to be watching us now, and they're also going to be joining us later or catching this on the replay. And a lot of it is that, we have these discussions that I want people to feel confident in being able to follow their own personal style journey. Yeah. You just said there have been a lot of me's, and that is a very powerful statement to say to other people, because I want women to look and feel their best every day. And I think it's okay to change.
Oh, sure.
I think it's okay not only to try to not fit a mold, but I think it's also okay to change and evolve and things like that. So Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's a really important point.
I do think it takes a while for you to find the confidence to be able to say, this is me and I don't care what other people think how I dress. It doesn't mean you don't follow fashion, but maybe you do your own unique thing, and maybe you wear bright red prints all the time and you'd love to put a really cool brooch at your waist or something. You got to be comfortable with what you like and figure that out, and then just be you. And that is the most important thing.
I love that. So as long as we're talking about developing that, another thing though that I feel is we're having this discussion and we are getting to be able to talk to other people and reach other people all over the world with both of our message is that I think it's also really important to try to give some advice to help people's confidence so they go out and they buy pieces with confidence. So tell me a little bit about what you look for when you're shopping out and about. And it could be, what are you looking for in an accessory? Or it could even be as easy as what you're looking for when you're looking to add some other vintage pieces to your collection. I think that how we approach things when we're trying to bring those things into our personal style is equally really important for us to share with other women.
Well, for me, it's always a gut feeling. I mean, I know that's kind of hard to explain, and it's gotten better as I've gotten older, but honestly, I can see, like, I used to like fall in love with something that was totally wrong for me, and I would buy it. That was I'm very short. It was too frilly and too much, but I loved it, right? And so now I've learned to look at it and go, I love that, but that's not me. And especially when buying brooches, I look at it, I can look through brooches so quickly. I'm sure you're the same way and go, yes, no, yes, yes, no, no, without even telling you why. It's just, you've got to rely on your gut and try not to, getting advice is wonderful. Stylists are great, especially if you need direction. But the best thing a stylist can do is to get you to start trusting your own intuition and really following your feelings. Because now that's the only way I live my life is by gut feeling. And, it's not always right. But I mean, for the most part, I feel like that's the best thing that you can do. If you see a beautiful piece of jewelry that speaks to you and it makes you excited in your heart, you go, oh, I'd love to have it. That's a right thing. That's a good thing.
And that's so true, especially about accessories. I mean, you can't teach gut instincts, but I always do remind people that, it's kind of those cause and effect relationships. If you really love it and it speaks to you, it's actually easier to go to a stylist and say, I love this. This is a really important part of me. I gravitated towards it because it wasn't like anything I ever had, or because it reminded me of my grandmother, or something else. Because a good stylist is going to give you examples of different ways that you can wear it. And even good customers and good companies like ours are going to say, we're going to help you think about it a different way. We don't want you to turn away something, even though it was something that you absolutely loved. I mean, we're not encouraging anybody to wear a clown suit if that's what their gut instinct is saying, but I would be up for any challenge that somebody would tell me. I mean, that's how my love of all this started, was so many people who, before I even owned Vintage Meet Modern, I would go and I would do closet cleanouts, and people would always have a drawer of things that they would say, we're not going to clean it out and get rid of it, but I don't wear it. And they would be treasures, like you're saying, like with the brooches and things like that. They would be treasures that they inherited from other people. And I would say to them, well, why aren't you wearing it? And they would say, well, I just don't know what to do with it. I don't want to look frumpy and it's out of date and everything. And so it became this passion of showing people how you can wear things in different ways and still, have your cake and eat it too.
Well, and I also think that a good stylist can look at 2 or 3 pieces, maybe a blouse, maybe a pin, whatever, that you love, and then they know what really is, what is at the essence of what your style is, and then they can help broaden your horizons a little bit to places maybe you never thought you'd go before. And that's where a stylist can be invaluable, if they can pick up on, things that you might not all put together. And I think that that's a really big gift that a stylist can give.
Yes. And I'm going to piggyback that now off to starting to talk more about your incredible clutches as well as your incredible company. So one of the top questions I get asked all the time is how to store my brooches or how to wear them in different ways other than the traditional way. So I love being able to wear them all kinds of different ways too. And that's how I found you. Was I wanted to make a suggestion to a client that had an existing brooch collection, how she could actually be able to pin something on a clutch. And I've noticed the more time I've spent on your website that somebody could come to you and say, I have blue brooches. What color clutch would you recommend to go with this?
Mhm.
I know that you do offer some gorgeous vintage brooches that go with your clutches, but the clutches are really like nothing else. And the more I learn about you, the more I know that you have a very rich history and work experience in this industry. But tell us all about the conception of these gorgeous clutches and where they're made, how they came to fruition, all of those good things. And I'm going to hold one up for just everybody who is beginning to join us now or is catching this. These are these gorgeous pieces. And Karey is now going to tell us more about how they're made, where they're from. I mean, this is just an absolutely fascinating story.
Okay. Well, like I said, it took me a year to figure this out. So they are made, this looks black, but it's actually blue. And so these are made in LA, and the fabric is, oh, this pin's not on the way. The fabric is also from the downtown Los Angeles in California, which was helpful to me because that is where I went to college. So it's very hard to find a velvet. Actually, let me get a lighter one because that doesn't show so well. So here's a lighter one. So it's very hard to find a velvet that will hold up and be strong enough and durable enough. So we went through, I love silk velvet. That doesn't work. This is a poly velvet. So it can handle any kind of wear and day-to-day use. It every clutch comes with a little powder puff inside that you use to stroke it out, because there's anytime you touch it, it's gonna mark it up and stuff. But so every time you use it, you can make the nap go the whatever way you want. It's darker one way, lighter the other way. You can see it's large. It's hard for me to portray this on the website and my Instagram as much as I want to. It's a full 13 inches, which is really big. So inside they are lined with a moire fabric that is also a polyester. It has a really large pocket because I think that is so important. I mean, your phone could even fit in there. And then, like we say, I think it's still hard to see online how big it is, but it is really large. Now, this is one of my older samples that snaps. This is just a sample. The way we have it now is it's magnets. So we have 3 heavy-duty magnets in here that go across here, one, 2, 3, and it is such a tight hold. It snaps shut. So nothing is going to get this baby open unless you want it to be open. You know how snaps sometimes pop up, and we kind of went through that iteration. So, now it's just, really solid, and it's easier to close that way too. So we have 8 colors, and they're all on my website. And we'll be adding more. We have a couple new styles coming out too, but they are proudly made all by women, all in Los Angeles, and me here in Texas doing this part of the work. So like let me show another color just so you can see. This is one of my most popular colors. It looks very dark in here, but it's a mossy green, and it actually goes with everything. So you can see, like over here, I've got this, velvet mark, and then I can just use this to wipe all those away, and so it comes with that, so you can definitely manage that yourself. Some people like the look of it being marked up and having just a velvet texture, but you can constantly play with that too. So some of these are gold inside, like this one, and some of them are silver, and they just are the base for whatever you want to put at them. I saw somebody put a bracelet on one the other day, and it was gorgeous. She just pinned it to the back, and it was on the front, and it looked fantastic. So really, it's a blank canvas for you to use with whatever you have. It could be a modern pin. It could be anything. So it's just there to use as something to make your vintage more modern.
You hit every single one of my boxes in terms of things that I look for when I invest in other kinds of pieces for myself personally, as well as working in this industry for such a long time. I am very fastidious about when I pass on products to other people who follow us or ask for things. The fact that your products are made here in the US, the fact that they are made of such a luxurious material, And the fact that they have all the specifics and standards to meet our modern life while still being able to complement our vintage collection is like an 11 out of 10 for me.
Well,
I think I cried when I opened up the box when it came here for myself. I remember leaving you a voice message on Instagram saying I had got them, and I had been covered from like doing yard work that day, but I like opened them up and it was like a moment. I was like, I can't believe that these are even better. And I do want to say both to like our followers as well as yours, I have actually found a couple other creative ways in order to be able to style these.
great.
I love the cream color. I also collect vintage scarves.
Ooh.
And I made my scarf real skinny like a twilly, and I stuck it on the inside and added a little handle to this to add a pop of color. And my husband, who really honestly, wonderful man, would let me really do anything that I want in the whole world, but we're a perfect mix for each other because I'm a total maximalist and he's a total minimalist. Even he said, he was like, wow, where'd you get that from? He's like, that's really cool. He's like, you know, and we're in quarantine, so we're not even going out that much, but he was like, oh, that's a really great idea. He's like, I was like, wow, he noticed. How fun. So I can't impress upon people who are listening to us enough. You're going to get the details on how you can connect with Max and Mary and Karey, and of course follow along with me, but you will still, please continue to follow along with both of us and continue to be part of the conversation today, because I really do believe that there's endless ways to really enjoy your collection, as well as endless ways to enjoy these pieces without your collection. So they are made in California. They are full of luxurious.
Are all women.
They're all by all women. You're located in Texas. Anything else that you want us to know besides the number of colors that they come in? Yes, I saw that Margaret and a couple other people, the magnetic closures are a game changer. They really are. Joan says that, do they come with a chain? My dilemma is to know what to do with them when they go to a luncheon. I already told you, use a silk scarf to turn it into a handbag. But I'm sure that Karey will probably take that into consideration. I'm sure you
I've heard that. I have heard that. But honestly, these are so long.
Yeah.
Sticking it under your arm at a luncheon. I've done it for 2 years now, and it's so comfortable. You just don't even think twice about it. So for the moment, I'm not adding a chain. I may do that eventually. But to me, this is going to sound silly, but to me, it seems more modern without a chain, because that was always the way to do it before. So it's, when you have it and it's long enough like that, it just becomes, something under your arm.
I don't disagree. I think that that's totally relevant. I just always remind my customers and my followers and things like that, there's a solution for everything. Yeah. So don't let that hold you back. I always say, we'll come up with something. We'll come up with something.
Well, and I'm obsessed right now with vintage chains. I've been collecting those, and that would be cool. So I'm thinking through that right now. I actually have, can I show you one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you're here for. We want, show us, tell us.
So these are 2 ideas of making necklaces out of brooches. So this is vintage chain I bought on eBay for a very little, and one of my favorite Coro brooches. And then this is a velvet, just another piece of velvet with a beautiful blue pin. And I made that into a choker. So, there are so many things you could do. So I could see you getting some vintage chain. If somebody wanted me to do that, I would do that for them. It's not, not difficult, and have it attached inside there. I might even make that an option eventually, because I think that would be super cool. So you definitely can get creative. Like you said, there's always an answer.
There's always a solution. And that's one of the best parts of being able to have you. And I do appreciate everybody who's joining us live, as well as I want to remind everybody who catches this on the replay. We always go back and read all of your comments and also respond to all of them. So it's always very exciting to hear not only how we can solve your problems and answer your questions on the go, but I always, as scary as it can be at times, I always really appreciate when people give us feedback too, because it always helps us move in the right direction. Certainly the women here at Vintage Meet Modern are always super supportive. So round of applause for all of you. And I know you're all going to be becoming raving fans over at Maps and Mary as well too. Okay. We have talked a little bit. We do have a couple questions. A couple people just asked you besides that, how do you clean it if it soils?
So you can use warm water, and the best way is to put it on your little puff and wipe it through and let it dry. And then when the puff dries, go through it so the nap comes back. That's why I like the poly velvet, is because it's a lot more durable and you can clean it. You don't want to use soap or anything else on it. You just need water.
You know, and we say the same exact thing here at Vintage Meet Modern. We say, you know, very similar to us. And I'm sure as a vintage brooch and a vintage pin collector and everything, you know that a little bit of water and a very gentle toothbrush, like a baby soft toothbrush, will do a lot more for you in terms of maintaining and caring for things than using chemicals or soaps or even gentle detergents.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about doing things a little bit more delicately and maybe having to repeat it versus, you know, going for the harsh chemicals. But honestly, they are so durable that you know, I mean, everybody has mistakes and has accidents, but these are just so well made, and the velvet is so lush that the fabric is just really incredible.
And it's polyester, so, you know, you get the best of all worlds.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. All right, so you have this incredible clutch, and I just happen to have hundreds of vintage brooches.
Perfect.
So I sat down here and I thought to myself, how are we going to tell the world about Vintage Meet Modern and Maps and Mary? And I think we came up with something pretty generous for everybody who's joining us and is going to be getting to know us a little bit better. So what do you say we announce that?
Absolutely. It's exciting.
It is exciting. Okay, so first and foremost, I want everyone to know that at Vintage Meet Modern, we all want you to help and look and feel your best every day. And all of our pieces are very carefully selected to work with your modern style, the same way that Maps and Mary wants their clutches to work with your vintage pieces or become a piece that's so fabulous it will become your vintage down the road. So this is really a giveaway and a collaboration that is like a match made in heaven. Mm-hmm. So if you look above in the comments, or if you look above in the post, or if you're catching this on the replay, starting now, right after we get off of this live, or like I said, if you're visiting this then later through a replay or catching it on either of our websites or social, we are giving away a $150 gift card to Vintage Meet Modern so that you can go ahead and add some brooches to your collection. And we are also giving away a clutch from Maps and Mary. So it is really a divine collaboration. It is the best of your vintage mixed with your modern, and it's totally wearable. So we are very excited about being able to present this to you.
It's game changing. People will see that. And the clutch can be any of our 8 colors. So, you know, then you can pick out the jewelry that matches you, and, you know, maybe have a couple pieces that you can change out. And so that's makes it that much more fun.
And we said the same thing here at Vintage Meet Modern. We are giving you the gift card to VMM for $150. So you can really stretch your dollars here at Vintage Meet Modern and pick a couple small ones or a really large, fabulous one. You know, but it's a great way to be able to continue to appreciate and add more pieces to your collection. It's a great way to be able to start a collection. If you're new to either of us, this is an awesome way to get your feet wet and see what all of us women really know is so awesome and amazing. But we do have one favor to ask of all of you, which is that we are women. We are still small businesses. We are all women-run businesses just like you. So we really do want you to follow us on social media. Be sure to open your emails when you receive them, and tell a friend that companies like ours exist. You know, I always say that I love the jewelry, but I love the people who follow us and work with us even more. You know, they are the greatest joy, and we wouldn't get to be able to do these things if it wasn't for them. So we just love any opportunity that we have to be able to gift them something, but we would love for them to be able to share that gift with other people too.
This is such a great community that you've built. It's very exciting.
Thank you. And we've got a lot of lovely ladies who I can see who are even joining us right now. Gail, Joan, Margaret, Rhonda. These are all nice ladies who are joining us this afternoon. I know that we've got some women who are still typing away and doing some work this afternoon. I'm sure that they're going to catch them on the replay. And I do want people to know that if you are catching this later, don't hesitate to ask questions or give us your feedback. We've got all kinds of ways to be able to connect with you, and we want to keep the conversation going. And tag us in your pictures. Absolutely. Tag us in your pictures, because there's nothing that gives us greater joy than seeing you carry our pieces out there in the world with you everywhere we go. I always say it's kind of like a little secret handshake. So
for sure. It's inspiring to other people that see it.
Anything else you want to share with us today?
Sorry?
Anything else you want to share with us today?
I guess the only thing is that if some people get overwhelmed by which pin goes with which bag. So if somebody says to me, I really wanted the lavender bag, which pins go, I will text you a full-on style board with that purse in the center, and then all of the pins that look the best with it, which we could do with yours as well. And then, then they can pick, because they are so one of a kind. It's not like, oh, I'll pick C, So to me, it's all about personal style. And I know you would do the exact same thing. So don't be intimidated by thinking like, how am I ever going to pick? Because that's what we're here for, is to help you pick.
Exactly. That's a really important thing to mention, not just about the community, but the way that we run our businesses as well. I always like to say that we're putting the personal shopping back in personal shopping, even in the online space. You can always send us a message or a request or, exactly. We want to take the guesswork out of things, because we also know it can be overwhelming as well. And that's such another reason for you to be able to be part of your company's mission and your vision and your values, as well as be able to be part of the Vintage Meet Modern family too.
One more thing. One more thing.
Sure.
So these have become quite popular as bridesmaid gifts. So I worked with several brides who will pick one of their own, and then a color for all the other girls, and then one for the mom and the mother of the groom. And we pick them out, and we pick individual pins for each person. And it's a super fun individual gift, which, just like your jewelry is, it could be the same thing, a necklace for everyone, a bracelet, whatever. So it's a good thing to keep in mind for weddings, because I think the brides really struggle with unique gifts, and this is so one of a kind and special. Like if you gave every bridesmaid a beautiful blue bracelet from your collection, and the bride had, another color or white or whatever. So I think that's a super cool way to also share vintage at a time when that is so important, so emotional at a family gathering like that.
I think that is another really, I think the more that we even talk, the more that we all have an appreciation for it. Something that I always recommend to people as well is that when people feel they need to downsize their collection, to host a party in which they start giving out pieces from their personal collection, maybe around Mother's Day or for a bridal shower or a baby shower or something like that.
Or call us.
It means so much that if you're looking then to give somebody a complimentary gift to give to something like that, give them the clutch with your grandmother's brooch. Have it be a way to be able to wear your something old and be able to wear your something new. Like these are just, I see people who are even tagging brides on here right now as we speak. And yes, and also that's the same thing. I love that when you're talking about the bridesmaids gifts as well too. Give them something that they can wear over and over again, and then pick out a piece that's completely unique to them. But exactly same thing, all blue rhinestones or all purple clutches, but then all Aurora Borealis brooches and things like that.
Right.
Then because you can always use it again, like my tagline, the accessories always fit, the jewelry always fits. It's something that you can really appreciate and get to wear and enjoy over and over again. Yeah. It's such a meaningful, such an awesome gift. I wish we would have done this closer to Mother's Day. I can't go back and everything, but these would also make awesome Mother's Day gifts, fantastic birthday gifts, great Christmas presents. Here we go. We have Michelle already saying, I'm so glad I already caught the replay. So yeah, and the geranium color is my favorite. So yeah.
Great. So geranium.
There's really fun things that you can do. We'd love for you, especially since we're doing the giveaway, head over to Vintage Meet Modern. Tell us what your favorite brooch is. Head over to Maps and Mary. Tell us what your favorite color is. We love getting to interact with all of you, and we really do appreciate that so many of you wear these treasures every day. And it also means more the world to us also that you're letting all of these new fabulous things, as well as these new fabulous vintage things, go on to be part of your style story now.
Yes.
So powerful, isn't it?
It's heartwarming. It's exciting.
Who knew that these little treasures would just have the ability to be able to make such a big impact? I always say it starts with something small, right?
Yeah, people just have to know about it, and then it really touches them.
Oh, you are such a beautiful person. I cannot say enough about how grateful I am about you being supportive of VMM and taking time out of your busy day to tell us all about yourself, your company, being awesome and generous, and gifting a clutch to both of our combined subscribers and followers and fans and things like that. And I'm just so proud that we can also be on somebody else's style journey and also be part of the sustainable fashion movement at the same time. It really gives me all the feels, as they say.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege. I've been excited to talk to you. We're such a great match in what we do. So it's got a lot of synergy, and I'm really excited about that.
Yes, I know. And so with that, I want to thank Karey so much for being here with us for Maps and Mary. If you're just catching this on the replay and you need the link to be able to sign up for the giveaway, we'll be sure to be able to give you that. But I'm going to encourage you both to head on over to the Vintage Meet Modern website, take a look at some things that you might love there. Head on over to the Maps and Mary website, take a look at their clutches and their brooches as well. And then be sure to follow us on social media. We are both on Facebook, we are both on Instagram, and we both answer our chats. We're both real people. So if you do have questions about anything, you can also feel really good that someone, a real person, is going to take time to either answer your question or make the perfect suggestion. Because I always say the perfect piece goes to the perfect person.
That's great.
So with that being said, we are both going to sign off and let you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We'll be announcing the winner by email next week on Thursday. So it's very important that you have a valid email address, you are over 18, and that you are a U.S. resident to enter. The drawing will close next week on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we will notify the winner by email with the code and then an opportunity to connect with Karey to pick a bag of your choice. In the meantime, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and being here. We enjoy getting to be in these style chats and also showing how other women incorporate vintage as part of their modern life and modern style. So as always, I want to remind all of you to take time to celebrate your inner style and let your personal style and sparkle show everywhere you go. So until we meet again, my friends, I will see you all again real soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.